see on this computer we have three usable drives. We have E drive, which is for the DVDs, for playing DVDs, or for putting CD-ROMs in to save files to CD-ROMs, which you can take out and store somewhere. The other two drives, the C drive and the D drive, pertain to the physical hard disk within the machine. These save files to the hard disk in the machine. Drive C is the drive where all the Windows system files are on. We open up the drive C, and you can see here we have all the system files. Now I use drive C also to save my apps to, like all the files or all the apps that generate the files that I need to save. And when I do save these files, I have created separate drives, or I like to create separate drives to save these files to, which keeps them away from the actual system files, and it makes for a tidier filing system on the computer. Now at the minute I have just got the one extra drive, which is drive D for programming files, but what I intend to do is make a new drive for my Java files, and to do this we need to go to the disk management. Now to get to disk management, we go down to the bottom left hand corner of the screen, we click the start button, we right click the start button on Windows 10 to bring the menu up. Now this is Windows 10, so we have a direct link to disk management, but on earlier versions of Windows this option isn't available, so we need to go into disk management some other way. One of the ways is by selecting computer management, finding a link to the computer management, opening up computer management console, and there you can see we have the disk management option, which brings us to the disk management console. We close that down. Another way to get to disk management is again by right clicking on the start button. In some cases it would be left click on, depending on the Windows that you're operating on. We would go to the control panel, open up the control panel, and there we have administrative tools. In the control panel window we click on administrative tools. This takes us to computer management. Again you can see we click on computer management and it opens up the window, and there's our disk management console. So we close these windows down. Back to our Windows Explorer file, the top tier of the Windows Explorer file, which has our three main usable drives listed. Now, like I say, I am now going to create a new drive on my system. So to do this, we just go to the option as discussed earlier, we go to disk management, and we open up the disk management console. Now that disk management console is open, you can see here we have got our C drive, and we have got our programming files drive, which is D drive. These other partitions, sometimes these are called partitions as well, these other partitions that you see here are recovery partitions that are implemented by the manufacturer of the machine. These recovery drives are protected. If you see here, when you right click on the C drive or the D drive, it brings up a menu, whereas if you go to these partitions where the recovery is, it just gives you an option for help. So the only two really that you can access are the two usable files. So again, we open our C drive and we see here that we've gone to the system programs, and we don't really want to touch this because I want to leave the space that's on this drive to download all my application files here. So to create my new drive for putting my Java files on, I need to shrink programming files, which is here. And to shrink programming files and to make a new, to generate a new drive, we ensure the hatching's prominent on the programming files. Then we right click, and here you can see we brought the menu up and it says shrink volume. But before we shrink volume, again ensure the hatching's prominent. You can go up to action as well, all tasks, and there we have the shrink volume option. If the hatching isn't present there and you go up to action, you can see that all tasks is not present. Another thing that needs to be mentioned is when you're making a new drive on your computer, have to ensure that all these types listed here are basic. You don't want any dynamic types in here, because a dynamic type basically means that a new drive could be saved across several physical hard drives. But because this machine obviously has only one hard drive, all these types are basic. And again, you just want to make sure that the layout are all simple. You don't want any other types here or layouts here apart from simple layouts. And once you've made sure that's okay, we go to programming files. Now, to make our new drive, we have to get space from somewhere to create our new drive, and to do this we need to shrink programming files. So you can see at the present it's 258 gigabytes. So I want to make my new drive 10 gigabytes. So we right click on the programming files and go down to shrink volume. We shrink volume. Here you can see it brings up a list of the sizes that have been queried that are available to do this change on the system. So to enter the amount, like I say, I want to make 10 gigabytes, which is 10,000 megabytes. So in the third box down we put 1, that's 10,000, and you can see while we're doing that, this total shrink space available shrank by the 10,000 that we've just selected here. So once you've selected the amount of size that you want to shrink, we click on shrink, and we should see, and there it is, we have a new area of unallocated space. Now at presently we have this black mark above the unallocated space, and at present this space cannot be used. It cannot be used to save files, it cannot be used for anything. It needs to be formatted, it needs to be generated into our new drive, and to do this we need to format it and prepare it. To do this we again right click on the unallocated space and we can see the new volume or new simple volume option. Click on the new simple volume option and it brings up this wizard. We click next to go to the next screen. That's the 10,000 megabytes that we have selected, or 10 gigabytes that we have selected to make our new drive. You can decrease this if you wish, but there's not much point. But you cannot increase it because that is the maximum disk space that we have opted to choose. So we want to keep it at the 10 gigabytes, so we click next. Now we can choose to mount our new drive into a folder, and we would create a new folder. We would browse to the place where we would like to place our new folder, give it a name, and the new drive would be mounted into that folder. But what we are going to do is we're just going to save it as a normal drive with a normal letter. We go to the drop down list and you can see here that A, B are available, C, D and E are obviously taken, so they're not on the drop down list. So we have a selection of all these letters to name our new drive. To allocate to our new drive, I'm going to select J. So my new drive, I have a drive that is a C, I have a drive that is a D, I have a drive that is an E, and I am now going to have a drive, or I'm going to create a drive which has got the letter J. So we click next. You need to format, to be able to use the new drive, we need to format it into units, into a filing system. On Windows we have a selection of FAT32, NTFS. There used to be a file system which was just plain FAT, but the modern or the newest version is the NTFS system, so we want to create an NTFS filing system on our new drive. The allocation unit is selected as default by the system. Now the default allocation unit is the 4096 here. We go straight to the default, and Windows has just selected the default selection for us, which does most cases, it does everybody okay. We go to the volume label, and I want to create a new name, which is JAVA, and that is going to be the name of my new drive. We need to perform a quick format, so the quick format box needs to be selected here to format the drive. Once all this is seen to, we click on next, and we get a new window which takes us through all the options that we have selected, just so that we can double check to make sure that everything is the way we want, and then we click finish. And you can see now that we get the formatting, and there's our new drive, and the new drive is J. And you can see here the new drive has been created. It has 9.72 gigabytes of space. The missing 0.28 gigabytes is for the administration of the generation of the new drive. So we open it up, and that is our new drive there, and now I can actually save files, my programming files, to this one, and I can save my Java files to a separate drive which is called Java Drive J. And if we open it up, you can see at present it is an empty drive which is called J. Done that, and we have seen that our new drive is on the top tier of the Windows Explorer options for our drives. Now we could reverse this. We want to delete it. It's really simple to delete. All we need to do is go back to our disk management. We select the drive that we wish to delete. So I've just generated this Java drive, so we want to delete this drive and use the space and put it back onto an existing drive that was in existence before. So we right click and we go to shrink it to delete volume. So we select delete volume, gives you a warning, you just click yes to delete. Remembering when you do this, if there's any information on that drive when you delete it, the information is unrecoverable. So you want to make sure that any information that you want to keep is off this drive before you delete it, because it reverts back to unallocated space, and after, when it is in this state, there's no way that you can recover any data from it. And if you try and reformat it, it will just write over the information that was on the disk before it was changed to unallocated. Now, to get rid of this unallocated space, this is wasted space on the hard drive that can't be used, so we want to put it somewhere where it can be used. So we select Program Files, the drive, Program Files, we right click, and we just select Extend Volume. We get the Extend Volume wizard, we click Next. That's 1000 megabytes or 10 gigabytes that was used for our J drive, and we just click Next. Again, it gives you the warning that you're about to do, and we click Finish, and it goes back onto the programming files. And that is basically how to generate a new drive on your system.